This conference will now be recorded.
So in yesterday's session, we were discussing about what is value, what is host path value, and how it works, and how to use values with our pods. So in today's session, I'll try to show you how to set up NFS, and how to use NFS values. How to use NFS values. Now, in yesterday's session, we were using host path value. When parts are shifted, when the parts are moving around your nodes, right? It is going to use a different storage from that server, right? So do we have a data consistency when I am using host path value? If the parts are moving around in your cluster, when parts are moving around your cluster, do we have a data consistency? No. So today I am going to show you the NFS, network storage. First of all, if I am using AWS, right, I can go for a EFS, that is managed service. Suppose if I am using data center, do I need a NFS server? We need to configure that NFS server, and then we can use that NFS server. What is NFS, guys? We already discussed what is NFS, full form of NFS, network file system. So the storage will be created in some other system. We are going to access that storage over network. We are going to access that file system over network. First, let me create one server. Instead of going for a EFS that is managed, I'm creating a NFS on my own. NFS on my own. EFS is what, guys? EFS is in the background. EFS is one service in AWS. In the background, it is what basically? It's a managed NFS, right? So in the background, that EFS is going to create a server and set up that file system. So I'll just use NFS so that you will get an idea also. I'm going to create one server to set up that NFS on my own. That can be any operating system, either Red Hat, either Ubuntu, you can take anything. So let me take Ubuntu. T2.micro. If you need more storage for your network file system, you can increase this capacity. Otherwise, I am just leaving as is default. And I need to open one port in this machine security group because I'm going to configure, I'm going to install NFS, I'm going to configure NFS in this server. If the clients, NFS clients, has to mount this network file system, we need to open the firewall. Otherwise it will not work. So what is the NFS port? On which port NFS will run? What port needs to be open in this server? Because I'm going to install NFS in this machine. What is the NFS port, guys? 2049. If you don't know, you can select this option here, NFS 2049. If you don't know the port number, 2049 is NFS port. Again, is it recommended to open this port for internet in real time, right? You can open for only whatever servers, from which servers you want to mount, this network file system. Only that range, that network range. Now, can I open only for this range? My Kubernetes machines are in this range. My Kubernetes cluster is created in this network. So if I open this 2049 for this range, my Kubernetes machines also in the same network in this range. Does Kubernetes machines will be able to mount, will be able to access this NFS file system on 2049? If I open like this, the Kubernetes machines will be able to mount on this port. Now, let me create a server. Let me create a server like this. Now, once this server is up and running, I will install NFS software. But is this machine is part of your Kubernetes cluster? Whatever this NFS server, is it part of your Kubernetes cluster? Is it part of your cluster? Is it a master? Is it a worker? No. This is separate server where I am trying to set up a NFS, the file system. Once I set up this NFS server, can I mount my Kubernetes pods with this file system? Can I mount my Kubernetes pods with this file system, NFS file system? Once we set up this, yes. Now let me connect to this server. Let me connect to this NFS server and install NFS software. So let me connect to the NFS server. So here, let me set up the NFS server. First, I will create one directory. We call it as a NFS share. NFS share. Let me create one directory, and I will make that directory as a NFS shared directory, shared file system. So let me create one directory. First, I am creating one directory. First, let me install NFS software. First, let me install NFS software. So it is not yum. It is a Ubuntu system. So it is apt. So I am installing this NFS server software. This NFS server software. I am going to share the installation instructions, guys. You no need to worry. Now I installed NFS server software, that NFS software in this machine. Using this software, I can create a NFS shares, NFS file system. So first, let me create one directory. I will make this as a NFS share. Any directory. I am creating one directory like this, mount share or whatever. That can be any directory also. Something like this. Anything. I am creating this directory in this machine. I want to make that directory as a shared directory. So in this, I have created one directory, something like this. In this machine, Now I will do some configurations in this NFS server to make this as a NFS share. NFS share. So this is my directory. This is my storage that will get mounted from these machines, these pods now. So there is no owner, there is no group. This directory will be accessed from client machines, NFS client machines. There is no owner for this. There is no group for this. So I will change those ownerships. How can I change recursively? How can I change? Nobody. I think no group. Nobody. No group. What does it mean? What does it mean? For this directory, I am saying there is no owner, there is no group. Permissions. Because this will be accessed from client machines, there is no owner. Let me change the mode also like this. Let me change the mode also like this. Right? Now, I want to make this as a NFS share. I need to somehow inform that NFS software, make this as a NFS share so that clients can access this storage. Clients can access this storage from the client machines. So to do that, there is one file. There is one file, exports file. What is that file? Let me do one thing. No, that is in etc exports, I think somewhere. Yeah, etc exports. So let me edit that. Let me edit that file. So here, this is related to NFS. Here I am going to say, I am going to do some configurations. One second. Here I am trying to inform this is my shared directory, mnt/nfs underscore share. Here I am going to give some permissions like this. Some permissions like this. Read, write, sync, something like this. Now, which means I am making this as a shared directory. What this star represents here, guys? What this star represents here? I can give a star, which means for any server from any client, from any client, from any server, any client, I can mount this one. From any server or any client, I can mount this one. If required, can I give only one IP address here? If required, can I give only one IP address here? Suppose I want to give, I can give something like this. So even though in my security group, I have given some range. If I give only this IP, does any other machines in the same network, will they able to mount this storage? If I give something like this in this file? No. Only this machine can mount. Only this machine can mount. Here instead of IP, I can give a range also, something like this. I can give a range also, something like this. Or I can give a star, which means from any IP we can mount this one, right? So this is NFS related setting. Once this is done, To reflect that, you execute this command. You execute this command, it will reflect. Then restart your the service, that NFS kernel service, that NFS service, that NFS software. That NFS software here restart. So here your you don't need to give a IPs of your pods, right? You can give IPs of your servers because the server internally your pod is running on what? Pod is running on some server. That server should have a access to this NFS. That server should have an access to this NFS. Pod is running on the server. Server should have access to this NFS. Now my NFS setup is done. Now can I use that? Can I use this shared directory? Can I mount my NFS with my pods now in my Kubernetes cluster? This NFS setup is done. Can I use this NFS directory in my Kubernetes pods as a volumes? Yes. But if you remember, when we are using EFS or NFS, do we need to have a client software installed in the client machines wherever you want to mount, from whatever machine you want to mount? Do you need to have a NFS client software also to be installed if you want to mount? If you remember, when I was explaining EFS, did we install the client software in your machines, in our machines? Didn't I install client software, guys, when I was explaining EFS? If you remember, didn't I install client software in this machine before I execute a mount commands? We have installed, okay? So here also, in your Kubernetes machines, we need to install client softwares. Client software, NFS client software, if I want to use. Without installing client software, if I directly use NFS values with my pods, it will not be able to mount. It will not be able to mount. So let me install client software in my Kubernetes machines, in all the machines, all the machines. Install in all the machines. Let me connect to my master machine. So since this is a Ubuntu machine, this is the software, client software. This is the client software I'm installing in machines. Similarly, let me install in workers also, because the pod can be scheduled in any node. The pod can be scheduled in any node. If I am using NFS value for that pod, if that node doesn't have that client software, will it able to mount successfully with that NFS? No, right? So that's why I am installing that client software in all the machines in my cluster. Similarly, let me install in another client machine, another worker machine also. In another worker machine also, I will install another worker machine. I think I already installed in same 238. Let me install in this machine. So I have installed that client software in all the machines. Now I have installed client software in all these machines. As of now, this pod, the database pod, using what type of volume, guys? Yesterday, what type of volume we used for that pod? Host path value. Now, I don't want to use host path. Let me use NFS value now. NFS value. So if I want to use NFS value for my database pod, here, instead of host path, can I say NFS? Instead of host path, can I say NFS something like this? NFS. Then this has two attributes. One is server, another one is path. NFS, server, and path. Here, what needs to be given? Under server, what value needs to be given here? Can I give the NFS server IP address? Can I give the NFS server IP address? So I am going to give this NFS server IP. Which IP I'll take? In real time, suppose this NFS server is not in a public subnet, that NFS server will not have a public IP, that will be in a private IP. Since the Kubernetes machines that NFS or EFS are in same VPC, will they able to communicate using private IP? Whether you create a EFS or whether it's a NFS, if they're in same VPC, will they able to communicate using private IP? I am going to take this private IP. Now, what is the path here? What is the path here? Now, can I give this MNT NFS underscore share, whatever I have configured as a NFS share, whatever I have configured as a NFS share, this one. Now, this value is NFS value. I am using this value. I am mounting this value with what? This is my value. I am mounting that value here to my container. So this data slash DB, is it going to be mounted with what type of value? The container, the database container data slash DB directory, is it going to use mount with this NFS server? This NFS server, right? Now, if you see as of now, I have not yet used so far. As of now, do you have anything in this NFS server, that folder as of now? So far we have not used. Do we have anything here as of now in the NFS server? No. Now, let me save this, but I need to delete and apply. Let me delete that RS. I am going to delete that replica set, which is internally going to delete that pod also, which is internally going to delete that pod also. Earlier that pod was using host path. Now I am going to deploy this one. Now which one, what type of value I am using now? If I apply this NFS value. Now let me apply. Let me apply kubectl apply -f. Again, as I told, if you don't open this firewall, will it work again? 2049 in the NFS server. If you don't open this firewall, will it work again? In the NFS server, if you don't open this port, it will not work. I have already opened. Now let me apply. Now if you see, my database pod is getting created. My database pod is running. Now if you see my database pod, if you see it is using value. What type of value my database pod is using now? We have a volumes attached to the pod. We are mounting those volumes in the containers. We are using volumes to the pod. We are mounting those volumes in the containers. This value is a NFS value. This volume is mounted with which one? Here if you see at a container section for database container, that volume is mounted on which container directory? data/db. Now, who has written all this data? Who has written all this data now in NFS? Guys, give me 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes. I got a urgent call from office. There is some production issue. I just need to log in. Just give me 2 minutes. If I need critical support, I may cancel the class. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll just log in and check, and I'll confirm. Sorry guys, I have to cancel the class. There is some critical issue going on. So we just discussed what is NFS and how to use NFS value. So tomorrow I'll continue with the rest of the topics. Okay, sorry for that. Bear with me. There was some unexpected issue. I'm canceling the class for today.